Hey, everybody. Welcome into the Big Factor here on the Big Play Sports Network. I'm Ryan Tyler. He's Jack O'Rourke. We're doing a two-man show today. Our buddy
Is this our
Nick.
first one?
No way. Our buddy Nick, or maybe it is because we've had guests.
Yeah.
So maybe it is our first two-man show. Our buddy Nick left us to go to the warm desert. Although I guess he did watch the Guardians get swept by the Padres. He's also going to the Angels, so they have a good chance to get some wins there. But I mean, it is what it is. We'll get to the Guardians soon enough. Jack, how you doing today on this beautiful Thursday, April 3rd, 2025?
I'm good. You know, it's cool sitting in the Nick chair. I feel like I'm Nick for the day again because I sat here yesterday for a little bit of the show. Actually, no, I sat here for the whole show yesterday. It was the day before I was moving around. We've been out of our normal spots. It's been a weird week, but yeah, fun for Nick to be out there. I know it was a loss yesterday when he was at the game. At least the Guards kept it closer than they did the last couple of days. Tomorrow, though, I believe it's actually the home opener for the Angels. So you never know. There might be a little bit more energy in that building than you'll get on literally any other day of the season, Ryan.
And actually not a bad start for the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. Better start than our Cleveland Guardians, to be honest with you. At least the Cavs won. It gives us something positive to talk about today because you know nothing's positive when we're talking about the Browns. And I guess we'll start there, Jack, if we're
going to Berea?
We're not going to Berea. I don't really want to go to Berea, to be honest with you, these days. Anonymous NFL executives, will they predict the Browns' plans? We're all trying to predict the Browns' plans, what they're going to do at quarterback, but one of them says he doesn't believe that they're going to trade for Kirk Cousins. I sure hope not. Quote, Stefanski knows him, but I cannot see them going with another guy who is older and injured. Another exec added, not that Deshaun is old, but he never got going. I had this debate with Josh on his show, The Return, this week. He still thinks maybe there's a chance Deshaun Watson returns. We've seen him post multiple pictures. Again, I think yesterday he posted kind of another hype video of him making his comeback. I think somebody asked him about his reaction to the comments that Jimmy Haslam made about the swing and a miss. He said, well, you know what? If I wasn't built different, it would affect me.
Good thing he's built different. Ryan, my first thought on this is honestly where my head was at for a long time. I didn't really talk about it too much on the show because I think I would get made fun of a lot. Is until Jimmy Haslam came out and said that, I honestly thought there was a chance that Deshaun was going to come back and play some football. It's just such a big contract, and there's no way out of it. It's just the biggest mess of all time, to be quite frank, Ryan, because you can't totally just get rid of the guy. Like, you can't trade the contract away. You can't cut him. There's too much dead cap. It's hard to ask a guy who's making that much money to be away from the team. Like, he's still in the building. I just found it so odd that after sticking by Deshaun Watson's side for so long, and credit to Jimmy Haslam for coming out and admitting that he made a mistake, but it's just so odd that while he is still here and under contract and actually for once in Berea, Ohio, that's when Jimmy Haslam decided to say, yeah, you know what, we effed up.
I'd like to think that it was already wrapped up and there was no shot that he was going to play on the Browns, but then you go back to the whole offseason, the whole Miles debacle Radio Row. I'm sure they told Miles at least one thing amongst others to get him to sign that contract. And I've always been on the assumption, listen, I understand the initial request. Sure, it wasn't about money. And obviously now you signed what was for about a week until Jamar Chase took that title, the highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history. I got to imagine they told him, listen, Deshaun Watson, he's not playing another snap of football here. That's not something you have to worry about. And that probably wasn't the main motivator, but it's obviously something.
And
as soon as you see the contract restructures, you're just pushing that money down the road to give you some cap relief. That's all it is. And you could tell Deshaun to stay home. I mean, I don't know if they're going to operate like that, but Deshaun Watson days playing football for the Cleveland Browns, at least actually getting on the field, are over. And it's just it's nice. It sucks that we had to go through 3 years of misery, so many just losses. But I guess everything happens for a reason. Maybe if we get a quarterback at 2, I know we'll talk about that. I guess maybe it wasn't the worst thing that we sucked last year, because if you knew Deshaun wasn't the future, at least maybe you're getting something of your future now in Shedeur Sanders, if that is the pick. I liked seeing Jimmy Haslam come out and say that. Does it do anything? Does it affect how good the football team's going to be next year? No, it doesn't. And people say, you never need to get your pound of flesh. It is kind of nice to hear them finally come out and admit what a failure it was. And, a lot of people, they didn't have a problem going out and trading for Deshaun Watson, at least on the field. Some people didn't want him because of his character's issues off the field, understandable. But it was just how long you dragged this thing out. And, Jack, to your point, I understand it's such a big contract. You invested so much. You want to see it play out until you're absolutely sure that, hey, this guy can't play football anymore. He's not good. It just seemed like we were way past that point, and they were still throwing him out there. And who knows? If he didn't tear his Achilles, who knows if he would have played that whole entire season.
Yeah, who knows if there was that one throw to the end zone in the Raiders game, I think it was, that got dropped or something like that. But I'm just still trying to gear more towards this year. And Ryan, the one thing you got to think is if you're taking a new quarterback, whether it's trading up to 1 and taking Cam Ward or taking Riley Leonard in the 5th round and saying, kid, go out there, have some fun, go get us Arch Manning next year, there's no way Deshaun Watson can be in the building. Like, you just cannot have that stigma from what happened surrounding the future. Like, you just can't, there's no way. It's kind of like having your seedy ex-girlfriend and like keeping her in the mix around while you're talking to your new girl. You know, you can't have that mix of both of them being in the same building, right?
It's like when you break up. We're just friends now. We broke up. It was mutual. We're allowed to be friends. Your ex-girl or your new girlfriend's not going to like that very much. I just don't think there's much that Deshaun can provide even off the field for this team that'd be positive, really. I think it's all set and over because of the contract. He's still obviously on the team. But as soon as you can wipe this off the books, and it's not going to be for a couple more years because of the money, it's just going to be up from here. I mean, you can't really get any lower than we are right now, unless I suppose you win 2 games, then technically you'd be lower. But at that point, what's the difference? Hey, maybe the number 1 pick next year, Arch Manning. We'll see if he comes out of college. Another executive, anonymous NFL executive on taking a quarterback. Quote, you're not guaranteed. Oh, speaking of, I didn't even look at this quote. Goes right to my point. You're not guaranteed Arch Manning is going to come out or that he will agree to go to Cleveland. So my guess is they draft a quarterback this year. If you were tanking, I don't know why you would give Myles Garrett all that money. I think that makes sense.
No, that's a great point, because I think we've talked about that point a couple of times, and it's nice to verbalize and hear an NFL exec say what you're saying. You know, it makes you feel a bit better about yourself sometimes. But, right, you'd have to think, if you're going to go out and give this guy all this money, if you're looking at it, if you're breaking it down to the simplest part of its core, getting rid of Myles Garrett right now probably was the right move in terms of just like totally overhauling everything that is currently in the building, that 3-win football team, and just moving on from it, going to get your picks, because you're probably ending up with, what, Ryan? Would you have gotten 2 firsts and a second at a minimum for Myles Garrett, I would like to think?
At a minimum, I would hope. It's hard to get 3 firsts for not a quarterback, but I would have liked 3
You're getting something
firsts.
for him.
You're getting, at the bare minimum, yes, 2 first rounds, a second round, and maybe a player.
And if you trade Myles, then at that point, it's like, okay, they would have moved on from Denzel, probably even Njoku, not Jerry Jeudy, but like a couple of the guys who have some value left are moving on as well. You're probably looking at an additional 7 to 8 draft picks in total over the next 2 to 3 seasons. And that's what's going to help you really kickstart, okay, we're not going to compete when Burrow, Allen, Mahomes, Lamar are running the AFC, but hey, the second it opens up, we're going to go take CJ Stroud on in 3 or 4 years or whatever. That was the quickest path to actually getting back. So now that you're not doing that and you have Myles and you're going to try and quick fix, go back, get 9 wins this year, I don't know, man. You have to go get the best quarterback possible, right?
If there was any truth to Myles Garrett being laid out a plan that come after the trade request, after Radio Row, that they laid out to him, that he said, okay, you know what? Change of heart. I like that. Make me the highest paid non-quarterback in football. I see the vision. It has to be, because
or it's all
you didn't get Sam Darnold. Right, and it is. It may not have been at that point, but then I think he overplayed his hand and realized,
oh, yeah,
listen, we got leverage. You can hold out. It's going to affect your legacy. You want to be the best player to ever play your position. Can't happen if you sit out a season. I think that's really ultimately what it came down to. But you didn't get Sam Darnold. You didn't get like a Geno Smith. You didn't get Russell Wilson. And not even that's amazing, but you didn't even get that. You're sitting here with Kenny Pickett on your roster. You're drafting a quarterback. Or else what Myles said on that interview with Andrew Siciliano, he said, yeah, you know, I got a plan, and he seemed pretty coy about it.
Well, he had that little smile.
We're yet to see what that plan is, and at this point, you don't have any options. It's got to be a rookie quarterback.
Right? If they don't,
or
it has to be all about the money if they don't, right? That's what it comes down to.
Trading for Kirk Cousins, like we talked about. You're
Dak.
A guy in the twilight of his career. I understand he's another year removed from the Achilles injury. He was god awful in Atlanta, guys, and it's not like he didn't have weapons. You had Drake London, you had Kyle Pitts, you had Bijan Robinson, you had a good running game. What's going to come to Cleveland because he worked with Kevin Stefanski half a decade ago? What I was doing half a decade ago, I don't want anybody to know about. I'm a very different person, very matured, very unable to do certain things I did 5 years ago and able to do things, sure, that I wasn't able to do 5 years ago. But you're talking about Kirk Cousins, a guy in his 30s now, who looked god-awful last year. I don't think him coming in to a Kevin Stefanski offense everybody loves to talk about is magically going to solve this offense. And quite frankly, I'm not sure that would have been something that Myles Garrett would have been real giddy about.
Well, that's where the issue comes in from the first point. And as I make this statement, let me again preface it by saying that I personally love Kevin Stefanski. I would like him to have a golden contract as the Cleveland Browns head coach. But with that being said, at a certain point when you go 3-14 like that and you're in the situation you're in, as much as it sucks, you either need to cut, in terms of like what actually is best for the progress of the franchise in the future, you have to cut ties with the head coach and the GM, because it's just so tough, because now you're putting them in this position where all they can think about is winning this year because they want to keep their jobs. And you have to go out and get the best quarterback option. To them, it might be Kirk Cousins because it's such a bad year for quarterbacks in free agency.
And even if you get Kirk Cousins, I still,
That's not moving the needle.
The ceiling with Kirk Cousins, man, for us as fans who've been miserable as Browns, are we really going to sit here and expect some playoff run with Kirk Cousins? You still have to draft your future. And it goes back to, the comments that Jimmy Haslam made. We took a swing and a miss. People think it took flack off of Andrew Berry. Kevin Stefanski maybe gave them a pass. I mean, that's not the reality of it. You can't go out next year, win 3 games, and then expect you to be all of a sudden safe because the owner took blame for a massive failure of a trade, a franchise-altering trade. You can draft Travis Hunter. You can draft Abdul Carter. They can be, everybody loves throwing around the word generational. They could be great. They could be all pros in their rookie year, and you could still see that translate into 4 or 5 win season. And I'm just not sure that keeps Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry their jobs. Now, vice versa. Let's say you take Shedeur Sanders. Let's say he sits the first half of the year, comes out, has a great second half, looks to be what could be the Browns' future at that position. Maybe then, even though you win 5 games, because Andrew Berry made the pick and he looks like you have a future, they save their jobs. It just makes so much sense to me from what the Browns need. If you're the one making the pick, ultimately Andrew Berry, what's the best for your job security? All signs to me just point to taking a quarterback at 2, and it's Shedeur Sanders. And you can talk about all the livelong day, how weak this quarterback class is. If you put him in the quarterback class of 2021, 2022, 2023, he'd be the 5th quarterback off the board. Well, guess what? You didn't win 3 games in those years. You won 3 games last year, and you're in this position because you had to start Deshaun Watson for as long as you did. Pin drop. That's all I got to say about that. All right, let's rank our excitement for what the Browns quarterback room could look like next year, or really just this draft. For number 2 pick, Jack, rank your excitement for the potential, I guess, ones they've been linked to. We put Cam Ward in here. We'll include it, but odds are he'll go 1. But between Shedeur, Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter, Cam Ward, your excitement for what the Browns could do at pick number 2.
Yeah, Cam Ward is the 1-1 on this list, and this does, of course, come with the caveat that we need to trade up to get him, but it would be Cam Ward at number 1.
Wow, breaking news. Nothing insane. I think this is my breaking news button. It's nothing crazy, but actually, wrong shot. It low-key could play into something I'm about to say. The Patriots are trading Joe Milton and a 7th-round pick to the Dallas Cowboys in exchange for a compensatory 5th-round pick. Now, this is funny because remember Bruce Drennan talking all about the Dak to the Browns stuff? Well, who would the Dallas Cowboys have a quarterback if they traded Dak? Now, I understand Joe Milton wouldn't be that guy they bring in, and they'd be like, yes, this is a guy we're confident in starting right away. That's probably not the case. But, hey, you do have an answer. If that does happen, you could start Joe Milton, who looked pretty damn good. We were big Joe Milton guys. I would have loved Joe Milton on the Browns, but, hey.
Dak? We were talking a little bit. I think I can say all this. I don't think anything here is faulty, but we were talking a bit with Bruce yesterday about who would be that option for the Cowboys, and we were surveying names around the NFL. Believe it or not, we didn't think Will Grier could take over in Jerry's world to start next year. So, yeah, dude, this makes sense, but I don't know. The thing that just perplexes me so much about this talk for a potential trade for Dak Prescott is the why for the Cowboys. I still don't really understand the why of how they would do that or why they would do that. Like, I get maybe Dak's not the Super Bowl guy, and I don't know they don't have a ton of cap space, so there's some, like, relief there possibly. But, like, they just I can't pronounce the name of that defensive lineman, but they just extended the defensive lineman for over $80 million. Micah got a deal. Like, what are they doing? Because they're paying their defense. Why would you trade away whatever is left around CeeDee Lamb on offense?
Yeah, I don't know, dude. The Cowboys are just such a joke. I don't know. Schottenheimer's got a lot to handle in that team. They're not trending in the right direction, that's for sure. All right, little breaking news. Let's go back to rank our excitement, Jake. So Cam Ward was 1-1.
Cam Ward 1-1. Shedeur 2, just because of the hype. Like, it's just the circus around him, I think, plays into it. But, and just, like, I was actually, I was when I got home yesterday, I went on TikTok, and I saw a Viva La Vida Baker Mayfield Browns at it, and it was just like, I want my franchise guy. Like, a franchise guy, whoever it is. So, yeah, I'm quarterback hungry. Travis Hunter 3, just for again, just like the more exciting player between him and Abdul Carter. Could Abdul Carter be the better player? He was ridiculous against Notre Dame in that semifinal game with 3 limbs. He could be a great player by any stretch of the imagination, but still, man, I gotta go with Hunter just because, even the thought about a guy who can break a game on both sides of the field, like, and I know it's not like he gets a pick 6 every single game because he doesn't, but when Nick was talking about the combine, the way Andrew Berry described Travis Hunter, he's a guy who can score you a touchdown on any play in the game. If there's a play in the NFL, Travis Hunter can score it. Like, that's ridiculous, and it's true.
I will go. I mean, Cam Ward, sure, will go 1-1. I just fully don't expect that to happen. But then Shador Sanders is the pick for me that would make me the most happy and excited. It just makes the most sense. And then I'll go Travis Hunter third, Abdul Carter fourth. Abdul Carter could be great. I need somebody on offense. Just the thought of him playing both ways is nice, but it's not even more so that. Just seeing how stagnant the offense was, and it mainly goes back to the quarterback. And Jerry Jeudy, it was a great wide receiver last year, earned every penny of his contract, and the contract looks great by Andrew Berry, by the way. Getting him to that extension when he did, it was a risk, but it seems like thus far it's paid off. But the reality is he'd be a wide receiver too on a lot of teams. I think the ability to get a guy like Travis Hunter, who, like you said, could score anytime he touched the football, regardless of who the quarterback is, I think I need me some of that in my offense after watching the Browns not being able to move the ball quite literally 5 yards with anybody not named Jameis Winston at quarterback. All right, we got to take a break. When we get back, it's going to feel nice to talk about the guards. I know they're in a bit of a losing streak. You get swept by the Padres. The offense falters. Back half of that rotation is pretty damn suspect. But it's still a lot of season to play, and the guards are just a damn fun team to watch. We'll talk about that when we get back on The Big Factor. Hey everybody, welcome back to The Big Factor here on the Big Play Sports Network. Ryan Tyler, Jack O'Rourke, running a two-man show today. I got to tell you about our great friends at Fairway Ford Ohio. Fairway Ford is the biggest Ford truck dealership in the entire state of Ohio. They have the largest selection of Ford F-150s and Super Duty trucks. And guys, I promise you they will not be beat on price by any other Ford dealer. Look at that graphic up there. Every month is truck month, up to $8,000 off. 1.9 APR rates you can get there. Boy, do I wish mine was that. That's about 3 times smaller than mine is right now. I'll tell you that. Do not let a short drive to Canfield prevent you from getting all that. Fairway Ford, the largest inventory of new Ford trucks, lowest pricing, and the same hometown level of service as I mentioned. Visit fairwayfordohio.com. That's fairwayfordohio.com.
Ryan,
all right. Yeah, please.
The crazy thing is, too, with Fairway Ford, we talked about Bob Davis on the show yesterday, celebrating his 23rd work anniversary.
Potentially the Fairway GOAT.
Well, yeah, potentially the Fairway GOAT. So you might think like, oh, we got an older core here, not many prospects coming up in the system. Like, what's going to happen to Fairway Ford? Don't worry, folks. Zach Takak celebrating his second work anniversary. So we got prospects coming up. I mean, we're so good all the way around the board at Fairway Ford.
Plenty of prospects. Their farm system, I'll tell you what, runs damn deep.
Deeper than the guards? Question mark?
It's debatable.
Okay.
It's damn debatable. Well, speaking of the guards, bad news, you get swept by the Padres, outscored 19-4 in that series. The good news is a lot of season left. Everybody in the AL Central is 2-4. Plenty of time to make up ground, Jack.
Yeah, like I think they give you that. You know in the football season when your team gets blown out week 1 like the Browns and the Cowboys last year when they're like, don't worry, like the Browns season is only on January 7th at noon or something like that. The guards season, you just rolled over in bed and opened up TikTok. You know, we just got going here, folks. We're gonna be okay.
Didn't even brush our teeth yet.
Haven't even considered it. You know, like we're making sure the phone's charged up. The day's just getting started. You're thinking about if you're gonna get that morning coffee or not. I mean, let's calm down.
Checking up on your ex-girlfriend's Instagram right as you wake up on bed and get sad.
Post notice on.
Before you even start your day. Well, The Athletic ranked the Guardians 19th in their first power rankings. That was through the opening 4 games. Of course, the Royals. I mean, at this point, I can't argue that. And in fact, so this doesn't include the Padres games that they put them in the power rankings?
So it includes the first game against the Padres, but not the last 2 games.
I can't argue that one bit. In fact, I wouldn't even be a little bit mad if they were a little bit lower, Jack.
I would assume if they re-release them today following, because I think we kind of got smoked on not Saturday, the second game of the Padres series, and then, yeah, so
7-0.
Yeah, so probably would be looking down more towards like that 23-24 spot. But I mean, it's way too early to worry about that kind of stuff. And I mean, I got it written down here, and Is it fair to say that the Guardians offense hasn't looked absolutely fantastic through 6 games? Absolutely. Not going to fight you at all on that one. But 5 of the 6 starting pitchers they faced so far this year, sub 350 ERAs guys last year. I think we had one guy who was...
I believe, Jack, if I'm not mistaken, out of the 7 pitchers the Guardians have faced this so far, or 6 they have faced this season, I believe 4 out of the 6 last year received Cy Young votes.
Yeah, so
that's Seth Lugo, Cole Reagans, Michael King, and Dylan Cease.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No. That sounds like it would totally check out too. That's what you got to remember in a long season. Like for every start that you're going to get against these guys, you're going to get your Jose Sorianos of the world too. They're coming. Don't worry. We're gonna get back home and play the White Sox eventually. After Jonathan Cannon is his name and Hagen Smith, there's not a ton cooking there for the South Side. We're gonna get our runs back. Let's just. My goal for this year. We're just going to set it real low, not low, but those White Sox series, what we're going to do, we're not going to have one game where we score 14 and then have 2 runs in 1 run the other 2 games, Ryan. We're going to blow the shit out of the water the whole entire series. That's what we're going to do this year. Score runs against the bad teams.
Guardians get an off day today before they take on the Los Angeles Angels, who had a better start to the season than a lot of people probably thought. Again, it's early. You never know what's going to happen. And then you get a chance to get fat against the White Sox when you get your home opener here on Tuesday, which will be at the Thirsty Parrot. Super excited about that. If you don't have pregame plans, head down there. We'll be doing shows at the Thirsty Parrot literally 10 a.m. to first pitch.
Yeah, hop out at 10 a.m. Come see the Big Factor.
So an opportunity for the Guardians to get right. And I say get right very loosely. They're not wrong. You played a Padres team who right now is 7-0, 6-0, 7-0. Outside of the Dodgers, they're probably looking like the best team in the major leagues right now. Jackson Merrill looks like a superstar who got paid. Fernando Tatis is off to a blazing hot start. And then you got guys like Manny Machado. I'm not going to overreact here, Jack.
No, and there's no reason to whatsoever. It would. We talked about it a bit yesterday. Like before yesterday, we were saying let's try and take 1 from them and then take 2 or 3 from LA. Let's still keep it there. Just take 2 or 3 from LA. No one really gives a shit what your record is when you come home for the home opener. You know, it's not like we're gonna have 15,000 people at the home opener because they're 3-6 versus 6-3. You know, like we're gonna be good. You just got to get there. And the biggest thing is just not having the freakouts about the lineup, especially early on. Is that it's these little things where, like, we talked about it on the show yesterday, for example, about Bo Naylor and Nolan Jones struggling. If it was 5 games for those guys in the middle of August, we probably wouldn't even know that they had those kind of 5 games. You know, like, it's just like you get caught up in the start of the year sometimes. We all do. And it's just making sure that you got to have that trust early on. Like, hey, we played one of the best teams in baseball. We ran out our 3 worst starting pitchers. Probably going to happen sometimes, Ryan, to be honest with you. Like, you're going to have Bybee and Williams going back again against the Angels, but you have to pick up some wins here, Ryan.
And nothing that I'm are there stuff I'm concerned about? Sure, that makes sense. I'm sure every team right now has areas they're concerned about, although when you are 7-0 or 8-0 in the Dodgers case, sure, those worries are less magnified, but
their only worry is tax fraud.
Yeah, and Roki Sasaki throwing strikes.
Yeah.
The only thing, like, every concern I have right now was pretty much a concern that I had going into the season. It's you're very weak in the back half of your rotation. Luis Ortiz did not look good in spring training. He didn't look good in his first start. Logan Allen, I never had high expectations for Logan Allen. And again, it's 1 start against a pretty loaded Padres lineup. And Ben Lively, okay, a good first start, did what you expect him to do. And not a great second start, but again, against the Padres team. Bo Naylor, struggling. It's early. I never expected an offensive outburst like some from Bo Naylor. Other than that, everything's kind of going according to plan. You'd like to see Manzo keep it up, sure. But the first series against the Royals, that agenda looked great. It's going to take a toll every now and then. But there's nothing immediate that I'm staring at this Guardians team that is completely coming out of left field and shocking me.
Yeah, and you also got to think about how different a Guardians roster looks in March/April compared to even June most years. Like, most years, you're staring down the barrel at an Estevan Florial Jr. or a Max Moroff for the first couple of weeks of the year, playing every single day in your lineup at a position of value. I don't think you quite have those kind of level of bums in the lineup this year by any stretch of the imagination, but there's going to be reinforcements coming soon for the infield, be it Brito or Martinez if we need it in the outfield. Like, Jonathan Rodriguez might get more at-bats here in the future. George Valera, Chase DeLauder once he gets healthy. Like, there's going to be guys who can come up. Doug Nikhazy can come up and help the starting rotation. For example, Andrew Walters, Eric Sabrowski in the bullpen. There's going to be little tweaks to kind of those. If you picture, like, the top 17 guys on our roster, probably, they're going to be here. They're solid. we're going to fight with them, battle through 162. Those kind of 18 to 26 spots, they're not decided yet by any means. Just because a guy started the year with a team, be it because of options or whatever, they have more seniority, we're going to be okay. We're going to start to get our guns in lineup as the year goes on. It's going to be a really fun baseball team to watch this summer, Ryan.
I will say I do need Lane Thomas to step up. That's probably the biggest one I noticed in the starting lineup because that's an everyday player. He's not a platoon. He starts every day in center field. I need him to step up because, remember, you go back to when you traded for him, must be really stunk. But then he really turned up the last month of the season and was decent in the playoffs. Obviously, the home run, that was huge. Got us to beat the Tigers. That's maybe the one I'm looking at right now. But again, so much season left. Now, you wrote hottest take from the first 6 games, so I assume you brought one to the show today.
Honestly, no, I didn't. I can pop one off the top of my head. Crap, I had a good point about what you just said, too. I thought you had a really nice thought there. But, yeah, hot take for the first 6 games. Ooh.
I don't think this is really a hot take, and I'm not sure what the solution would be if what I'm about to say comes to fruition, but I can't see. I think odds are greater than none. You get past the All-Star break. Shane Bieber comes in and takes a spot from that rotation. I don't feel confident in Ben Lively, Luis Ortiz, or Logan Allen to be staples. I know one of them at least is probably going to have to be because of the scarcity, but I don't like that as my options going into the back half of the season.
And you're so right, and they all have different issues for
John Means?
A plethora of reasons. I mean, there's hope that John Means could be back in September. If we could get John Means back, that'd be awesome. But, I mean, you never know. I mean, he's always reliable when he is healthy. It's just that he is never healthy, as we talked about before. Are you
going to go out and find your version? Wrong slide. Or are you going to go out and find your version of last year's Matthew Boyd? You know, like anything could happen.
That's what we're kind of doing. I mean, it's just...
Oh, we're talking about this so early.
Yeah, it's an organizational, not flaw, but... Take Ben Lively. And you know, I'm a Ben Lively guy. I'm still a Ben Lively guy after, I mean, not that he had a terrible start yesterday. That's like what you expect out of Ben Lively. But we brought in Ben Lively to be the 9th best pitcher in the organization, to probably spend his whole entire year in Columbus last year. Had to be here. Had the year of his career. Was the most consistent guy in our rotation. It's very tough to bank on guys like that who have their first good season at 29 years old to do that consistently the next year. And I hope Ben Lively does, but that does kind of speak to, like, you have to supplement these things in the offseason. And they tried. Like, Luis Ortiz, he has really good stuff. Like, if he ever is able to find the strike zone, and you'd like to think Carl Willis and the pitching mafia that we have are able to fix this guy, I think it's very possible. But, I mean, like, Logan Allen, you know I love the kid. It's just... I don't know how many starts he's going to get this year. It just comes down to, like, he was throwing more strikes. Like, he wasn't missing more bats was the issue. But, I mean, was it cool that Logan Allen got, like, 3 double plays in the first 4 innings? Yes, but that start, which was bad, let's be honest, could have been way, way worse, too.
Yeah. All right, well, let's go Guards. Let's take 2 out of 3 from the Angels. Let's sweep the White Sox. And in a week, we'll be having a much different tone about
Fighting Mike Trouts, baby.
And get the bats back to work.
Dude, you know what we're going to do? We're going to come out and sweep the Fighting Mike Trouts. You know, we're going to take them down in 3 straight games. The type of hype you're going to get at the Thirsty Parrot on Tuesday is going to be like the 97-98 Bulls. I mean, let's run it.
The snow might tamper it a little bit. But you know what? Actually, no.
I got my gloves.
Baseball season, we don't let weather.
We didn't get to tailgate one Browns game last year because our team sucked, so it's a little trade-off.
We're in April. I'm done letting weather dictate my mood.
Yep.
That's all I got to say. All right, we got to take another break. When we get back, flipping it over to basketball. Cavs. They get their 61st win of the season, come back, and defeat the New York Knicks. They're 3-0 against them this season. Play them again with a chance to go 4-0 and sweep the regular season series. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to The Big Factor here on the Big Play Sports Network. Ryan, Tyler, Jack O'Rourke doing a two-man show. I think our first one without a guest.
Yeah.
As we launch The Big Factor, which is crazy. We've already been doing this for months, by the way. But I got to tell you about our great friends over at Garage Beer. Garage Beer comes in just two flavors, guys. Classic light lager and lime. No frills, no bitterness, none of that IPA taste that you guys don't like. It's just beer-flavored beer. Find local retailers who sell Garage Beer near you by visiting drinkgaragebeer.com. That's drinkgaragebeer.com, or scan that QR code. Link you right to their website. You see at the top, classic light lager and the classic lime. Jack, I've said this a million times, the perfect beer to watch baseball games.
It is, because it's so light. You can have like 2 or 3 of them and still feel really like in control of yourself. You know, it's a very. I think it's a good, like. I'm trying to think of the perfect word to describe Garage Beer. I'll come back to it. I'll think of it while we're talking about the Cavs.
Okay. Well, speaking of the Cavs, I can say a lot of good things about the Cavs and describe them in a lot of good ways. They get their 61st win of the season. They beat the Knicks for the third time this year. As I mentioned, a chance to sweep them 4-0 as they play again before the regular season wraps up. Very close to wrapping up that 1 seed in the East, and that's the ultimate goal here. You'd like to wrap it up, home court advantage all the way through if you do get to the NBA Finals, but that's not something I'm concerned about right now. I think home court advantage against the Boston Celtics is so much more important than defending champions, an older team, a team that's experienced, been there, done that. You don't want to have to go play in the Garden if you do in a Game 7. You want to bring it right back here to Rocket Arena. I can't say enough good things about the Cavs. And, a lot of people this last week, you went through the 3-game slip, the 4-game slide, whatever it was, and a lot of people started to panic. It's just the tolls of a long regular season. You talk about how long baseball is. Basketball isn't as long, but in terms of pretty much the physicality, it pretty much is just as long and takes a toll on these players. And it's going to happen. They're tired. I think there was like a month-long streak or more where they were yet to play games in 2 games in back-to-back cities. The amount of travel that the Cavaliers have had to do this year, thanks to their schedule, is just nuts. And I have nothing bad to say about the Cavaliers.
Yeah, I actually saw that they had their first home practice since the All-Star break yesterday, I believe, which is just ridiculous to think about because the All-Star game was in late February, I believe, so it's been well over a month since they had their last home practice. Not even game, just practice. That's ridiculous. I'm really excited to see what this team can do moving forward, and it starts with that physicality, man. Like, that was the one thing I took away from watching late in the game last night. Like, you fall behind. Like, obviously, I'm not the first person to say this, nothing original here, but do we want to buck the trend of getting behind against these good teams? Yeah, probably. It'd be nice to not play from behind every single game. But the physicality down low, like to see the things Jared Allen is doing, especially against a guy like Cat, like it's not a slouch either. Like I think, he 21-8 last night, 10 of 11 shooting, got a bunch of boards. Like that's the kind of thing where the Knicks, like, they punked us when they got us in the playoffs last time. Like, they kind of just pulled our pants down and embarrassed us. What was it, 5 games, I believe? I know it's a different team. Like, you add Donovan, we had Donovan. I'm stupid. But I don't know. Like, it's just so crazy to me to think about it. And, again, not a new thing. But if you look at this Cavs team with JB Bickerstaff, and the turnover is nothing. You add DeAndre Hunter at the trade deadline, but Ryan, like, this is basically the same team that lost to the Knicks and whatever that was. They have a better roster now, and we're blowing them out. We beat them all 3 times this year now. We blew them out the last time we played them too.
Yeah, I think we were either 1 or 2 or one of 3 teams that didn't get a free agent in last offseason. And, I mean, that just speaks to the incredible job that Kenny Atkinson has done, taking them to that whole nother level. The Cavs they've passed every test in this regular season. I don't think you can deny that. And there's proof of concept in everything they've done from the top bottom, offensively and defensively, right? Like, you beat the Celtics, you've beaten the Oklahoma City Thunder. Obviously, you've lost to both teams throughout a point in the regular season, but welcome to the NBA. You're 3-0 against the Knicks, as I mentioned, the 3 seed. And by the way, that gap between the Celtics and Cavaliers down to the Knicks at the 3 seed is just monumental. And I'd be quite frankly shocked if we saw anything other than a Celtics-Cavs Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah, that was actually a headline I saw in The Athletic today is how inevitable is this? But I think the biggest thing just to note on, and don't want to harp on it too much, but it's 6 games in 10 days to end the regular season here. It's looking like you have that one spot locked up. Ryan, because I know Rafa hates this, how anti-load management are you to the extent? I know we've been sitting out these guys a bit, like Don hasn't played a ton recently. How much do you want to see these guys out down the stretch? Because I think it'd be really nice to just go into the playoffs, get to round 1 healthy. That's the biggest thing.
Well, the best part, and kind of to wrap this whole thing up, is like the Cavs, I mentioned 61 wins. They're doing this all while Donovan Mitchell is playing the least amount of minutes per game in his whole entire career. So you basically already have load management in it because of how deep your bench is, because of how much JB Bickerstaff trusts his bench players and how impactful they've been. I mean, listen, as long as I'm going into the playoffs healthy, you'll get your rest. I feel pretty damn good about this Cavs team, man. I really do. Outside of the Celtics, I just don't see a team that can really compete with them in a 7-game series.
Yeah, I mean, the reason the Celtics scare me is it's just that, like, because I don't get to watch the Cavs every single night, but when you do go back and, like, get box score watch sometimes, like, you think, like, okay, I'm going to go in and see Donovan had his normal 25, 4-4, or whatever. The Cavs do it with a different guy every single night, it seems sometimes. Like, just looking up and down the roster, like, there's so many guys who just, like, I mean, there's 9 guys who have, like, a capability of, if we really need them to go out and put up, like, 15 points. I know it's the NBA, like, almost anyone theoretically could go out and give you 15 if they had to. Like, legit guys.
Not everyone.
But I'm saying, like,
I know what you're saying.
You know, like, if in a regular season game, if you had to give Imani Bates 25 minutes, he could give you 20, or not, maybe not 20 points, but you know what I mean.
He'll throw up 12 fadeaway threes.
Yeah,
some will land.
He'll throw up a couple. The Celtics are the one other team who can do that. Like, the one thing, I know it's one game, and it wasn't even against us, but there was a game in the regular season where I think Derek White and Peyton Pritchard both had, like, 30-plus points on, I think it was, like, 7 and 8 threes, respectively, or something like that. Like, they can do it, too.
Yeah. All right, we got to take one more break. When we get back, I guess the Guardians did some time capsule. 100 years in the making, apparently. I know nothing about this. So
you think they knew they were the Guardians 100 years ago?
I find it very hard to believe. I don't even know if they knew they were the Indians 100 years ago. Or when did they start going by Indians?
They knew that because when they won the 1920 World Series, they were the Indians.
They were.
Yeah, I think 1901. Could be wrong about that.
Well, that's damn well over 100 years. All right, Jack will lay it all out for us. Watch the little video when we get back and wrap up the big factor. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to The Big Factor here on the Big Play Sports Network. Ryan Tyler, Jack O'Rourke, as we're wrapping up this Thursday edition. Now, the Cleveland Guardians, supposedly, I don't really know anything about this. Jack does, I guess, buried a time capsule 100 years ago. Now, allegedly, and they're digging it up opening day is the plan, correct? Or am I wrong on that?
Roll the tape, baby. Roll the tape.
All right, we'll watch this video, and then Jack will break down what he knows. Some pretty dramatic music, Jack.
Yeah.
What's in that box?
What's in the box? Come on.
Is it Gwyneth Paltrow's head?
Don't know spoilers on the Big Factor, dude. Someone
if you
out
haven't
there
seen
could
that
be
movie,
watching
if you
it.
haven't seen that movie by now, sorry.
Okay. Okay, so it said 100 years in the making. So it doesn't mean that they necessarily buried it 100 years ago. And I looked up the 1925 Cleveland Indians. 70, 84, and 1. So they tied a game. Maybe that means we're bringing back sub 500 baseball. I wouldn't think so. I wouldn't think so, Ryan. I don't think that's the case. It's got to be a jersey, right?
So I wish I could tell you a single player that would have been on the 1925
Tris
roster.
Speaker's the only one in here I know.
Is that like Nap Lajoie, or is that too
No,
early?
that's too late for him.
That's too late.
Yeah, he was like early 1900s.
Okay.
A guy named Ben Carr put up 197. Okay, regardless of the 1925 Indian stats, Ryan, I'm just so confused because everyone's heads immediately jump to it either being a jersey or a mascot, which are very interesting in my head.
They bury a person down there for 100 years?
I mean, they couldn't have done that, you'd think. Someone's got to go to jail. Someone's got to pay the price. But jersey, Ryan, I think no. I'm going to come out and say that I think no. My reasoning is typically the City Connect jerseys, like you get them for a year or two. They don't just like...
I think this one, Curtis said it was 3 years.
They're going to wear it for 3 years?
Yeah, I believe
okay,
so.
So they're not getting rid of the City Connect jersey. They just got it. So that's one jersey. You just released 4 new jerseys this year. Like literally, like all 4 of those jerseys are not the same as last year. We have 4 new jerseys and a jersey that is a year old that we've never seen before. They're not going to bring out a 6th jersey, I don't think.
Could it be like a throwback? Well, I guess you wouldn't mix hats.
You probably wouldn't mix hats, but like the thing is too, I don't know.
So
because we're the Indians too. You're not gonna put Indians on a jersey,
first of all, do we
right?
think they actually buried this 100 years ago?
I don't think they
No
did.
way, right?
I
Like,
don't think they
it's
did.
more of a joke.
Well, that had to be a joke because they were the Indians 100 years ago, so you would have had no way of knowing they'd be the Guardians or that they'd be in existence. So you'd have to think, right?
I would think so.
It can't be a jersey. It's not going to be a jersey. Mascot, though, I think that could be. There's a reason that all 4 of the mascots are in the video. But what would be like the callback mascot? Because, once again, back to the last point, you were the Indians.
So
Well,
what were they before the Indians?
the Blues, the Naps, the Forests, I believe.
Huh.
Not going to be any of those. Could it be... My other thought is it could be like a... Not like the... it's not hanging up, but like the classic 90s into the 2000s Indians jersey. But maybe it's like the Major League style early 1990s, like while they were still at the Municipal Stadium, 80s jersey. I think that could be cool. And then you just put Cleveland in front.
Well, I guess we'll find out in just a couple of days.
Yeah.
Less
Maybe
than a
Carlos
week.
knows. We should ask him.
I'm sure Curtis knows. We could ask him.
We could ask him.
You know damn well he wouldn't have told us that.
No.
All right, well, I guess we will find out. Good luck to the Guardians. Off day today, probably much needed as they take on the Angels. That's it for our show today here on The Big Factor. Shout out to Garage Beer. Shout out to Fairway Ford. That's our show. We'll be back tomorrow. Same people, same time. See you then.